We're building this amazing grid management system. It is inspired by this trading robot on the MQL marketplace, and it has been there for quite a long time now. It sells for $2,800, boasts quite a bit of profit, consecutive months in profit, and comes with a full documentation including features, how to install, requirement, risk settings, strategy, and all that good stuff. But we will build it ourselves, step by step, with all the functionality and this pretty looking panel. In the very first video in this series, we dissected the entire EA, trying to understand how it exactly works, how does it open trade, how does it form grids, how does it manage lot sizes, how does it manage TP and SL, and what are the small nuances there. And what we discovered were quite a lot of smart features built into this. Be it the lot sizing, be it the TP management, be it the SL management, be it the grid management, there were always something which either had to do with the volatility in the market, or it gave the user quite a lot of flexibility in terms of how does he manage the entire grid system. And then in the second video, we started building the base structure for the coding, including all the input parameters, the input variables, the global variables, and the base structure in itself. And we wrote the code until this part in the settings, which was the RSI value, which determines where the base trades are going to open for both buy and sell. And today what we're going to start to look at is the lot sizing method. We're going to build the entire methodology around the low risk profile, the medium risk profile, significant risk, high risk, based on either equity or balance, or on deposit load or fixed lots. And then we will also handle the function around auto splitting, or in case your lot size becomes bigger than what the broker allows, then how do we split it into many different orders and then send them one after the other. We will include the handling of spreads and slippages when we are sending the orders. And then we will continue with the development of grids. How do we open them? At what distances? And then do we or do we not apply a smart gridding? Which is, if it is false, then your grid levels are open at a fixed distance from each other, always defined by the user. But in case you select the smart distance to be true, then in that case it's not just this 35 that determines the distance in the grid, it is also based on ATR values, the short period and the long period. And then we look at the short period to determine the volatility in the market. If there is more volatility in the market in the short run than the longer run, then we increase the size of the distance in the grid. Quite a smart feature. Then we will build the coding around the trade multipliers. So when you're using these trade multipliers, your opening trade is open at a certain lot, but then the lot size continues to increase depending on what you have selected here. So for the second trade, it's going to be a multiplier. So if you're starting from a lot size 1 as the base trade, then you have the option for the second trade to either go the same lot size or increase it. And then you have the flexibility for the third to the fifth trade to define a different multiplier. And then from the sixth trade onward, you have an even different multiplier that you can use. And in the subsequent video, we will add a custom multiplier as well, where you can actually define for level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, all of them separately custom multipliers. And then we will also start on the grid level to start functionality, which is a very smart feature. Now, the idea is the entire grid management system works on this RSI value, which is from the mean of 50, 15 above and 15 below. That's where you open the buy and the sell trades. And then your gridding is managed with trade distances and the smart distancing. But what if you didn't want to start trading from the very first level in a stronger momentum where you're expecting the price to go against you for quite some time? Why start at the base level? So what this very cunning grid level to start system does is, if you put here a 3, then that basically means, because we're starting at level 3, that for the first two trades, we're going to put a dummy trade or a bookmark trade, if you will, the minimum lot sizes here and here, and then only start our gridding from level 3, which is quite smart actually. Now within that, you have two different possibilities, which is to keep or not keep the original profit level and lot sizing, which if you select it to be false, your first two trades are going to be dummy trades with the minimum lot size. But when you open the third trade, it's going to open as the first lot size calculation based on the profile that you have selected here. But if you actually change it to true, and that's where it gets even more clever. Now we're going to place dummy trades, the bookmark trades of minimum values for the first two trades, yes, but we will in the background store the value of those lot sizing as if those two trades were open with the proper lot sizing. When we open the third trade, we open it as if these two were also properly open and were not just bookmarked. That's very clever as well. That is what we're going to cover in this video. And then in the next video, we will start to look at all of the TP settings, including the weighted take profit, the smart take profit, whether or not to hide the take profit. And if we hide the take profit, then to use the OPO method to actually realize the TPs. Look at the stop loss settings. Once again, whether or not to hide it from the broker, and in case hidden, then use the OPO method. And then we will also look at all of the drawdown controls as well. So basically, by the end of next video, we should be able to build up all of these settings. And then in the last video, we will build up the entire panel. If you're joining us from here, I would strongly urge you to start from the first video, because trying to build something without fully understanding what it is that we're trying to build is probably not the best idea. Now, obviously, these codes are going to be available in the store as a reference, but please do understand, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of taking the time, following these videos, and actually coding these for yourselves. This way you will learn about the EA and its intricacies as well. And you will also learn how to do these kind of things. So if you have a strategy of your own, you can later build it yourself. And that will make me very happy. So with no more shenanigans, let's start coding the calculation of the lot sizing. Now, before we start writing the calculation of the lot size functions, one thing which people forget, and MQL does not like it, is the deinitialization function. Because all of these calculations and the indicators, those are loaded into the memory and then they're stuck there until you release them. So we're going to do three things here. The first one is we're going to go through the array of MA handle, because that's going to equal the number of indexes as the symbols. So we're going to go through this, and they're going to be the same for everyone. And then we're going to release these indicators by using the I. So loop through the 3 iterations and release for all 3 symbols, these indicators. And then we're going to be writing an on timer function where we're going to update every 5 seconds. This is what we have done here in the initialization, event set timer. So let's release that event kill timer. And then if it is not the tester and it's not the optimization, so it's live trading, so delete all of the objects on the chart as well. And in the end, I mean, when we're going to create the panel, we're going to create a lot of objects. So at the end of it, or the initialization, remove all of the stuff from the chart as well. So delete all objects. If you still want to continue having the panel, even when you close the EA, just remove this part. I'm going to hit compile and it's fine. So let's go down to our calculation of the lot size function. And let's start building it. So we get a lot of information from our broker. So we get the volume steps, the minimum volume, the maximum volume, and the volume limit. And if the step is less than 0.0001, which is going to be a very funny step, most brokers have 0.01, then in that case we set it to 0.001. So I think in case of Bitcoin is where you can have 0.001 as well on certain brokers. Then we also get the value of free margin, the balance, and the equity. And then in the tester, if the user has selected to use fixed initial deposit and the initial balance is greater than epsilon, meaning we're checking that it's a valid value. Here, fixed initial deposit. And for the initial balance, we come back up here in the initialization function. And before the int succeed, we write initial balance is equal to account balance. So in tester, this is going to be equal to whatever you put as the initial deposit. So if this is greater than epsilon, so it is a valid value, and the fixed initial deposit is true, which is basically the user is asking that run the tester as if whatever profit is made, I'm going to take it out and I'm always going to have the initial deposit, the initial balance, this 10,000 always in the tester. Then in that case, free margin becomes initial balance, balance becomes initial balance, equity becomes initial balance, because that's never going to change. But that's only in the tester. Then we're going to get the margin requirement. We're going to write a function, get margin required, sending it the symbol, and get leverage, sending it the symbol. And then we start with the lot size equals 0. So let's go down again to the bottom where we're going to have our helper functions. And here we're going to have get margin required for the symbol, where we're going to start with the margin 0, attempt 0, and then while the margin remains less than epsilon, so as long as it remains 0, and the attempt is less than 3, and the symbol is not equal to question mark, question mark, question mark. I mean, normally in MQL5, if the symbol is blank, then it comes back as blank. but it's more valid for MT4, where sometimes the symbol value can actually come back to be question mark, question mark, question mark. So as long as less than 3 attempts and the margin is 0, we increase the number of attempts so that the next time it's attempt 2. So if it's attempt 1, sleep for 100 seconds, attempt 2 is sleep for 1000 seconds, attempt 3 sleep for 2000 seconds, and then we're gonna calculate order margin by sending by type order for the symbol, one lot size on ask, and store the value into this variable margin. But because we're saying not, meaning if it fails, if you are able to put in the margin here, great, but if it fails, then margin equals 0. So that the next time the margin is still below the epsilon and we do. Now if the attempt becomes 3 and the margin is still below epsilon, then fail to get the margin after 3 attempts, otherwise return the margin. And then we're going to do the same thing for leverage. So we start with leverage. We get the leverage because here we had to calculate, and here we can just simply get the leverage. But if the leverage turns out to be less than epsilon, then we do exactly the same thing, 3 attempts. So exactly the same thing, and trying to set the leverage to account leverage. And after 3 attempts, if it's still below epsilon, then we fail to get the account leverage after 3 attempts, otherwise return leverage. So we go back to our calculate lot size function. So now we have this and we have this. So we got the leverage and we got the margin. And then we're going to switch through lot size method, which is going to look through the members from this enum. So it's going to look through all of these 3, 3, 6, 8 different possibilities. So we need to look through all these 8 different possibilities. So we're going to start with switch lot size method, switch through all of the possibilities. Now, if the case is fixed lots, then in that case, lots become the lot size fixed value, which the user has provided. If it is lots balance, then we're going to calculate based from value by sending the balance value, margin required, leverage, and step. If it is based on equity, then we're going to calculate from value, but sending the equity. Then if it's deposit load, then we're going to calculate from deposit load, sending free margin, margin requirement, leverage, and step. And then if it is based on risk percentage, 1.5% load, we're going to create a function which we're going to call calculate from risk, sending it the free margin, margin required, leverage, and 1.5. If it is high, then we're going to send 1. If it's mid, then we're going to send 0.5. And if it's low, then we're going to send 0.25. This is what we had put in the enum here. 0.25% load, 0.5% load, 1% load, and 1.5% load. We're going to create all of these functions. So let's come down here, and we're going to create the first one, which is to calculate the lot from value, either balance or equity. So we come down here outside the loop, and then we create this function, and we're going to send to it the account value from here, which we have already calculated, the balance, the equity. So we can send the balance or the equity, the divisor, which is going to be the lot size dynamic value. So up here, the user defines lot sizing dynamic values, a dynamic lot. So balance equity based, meaning for $10,000, you open one lot. So that's the divisor. Then the margin required, which we calculated, get margin required. And then the leverage that we also got here. And then the step, the value that we got from the broker. So we're going to send all of these values. So in case of lots balance, we're going to send the balance. And then we take the divisor and make it absolute, because in case of equity, it might be a negative value. So we want an absolute number. And then the lots are going to become account value divided by the absolute divisor. So if the account value is 1,000, then divided by 10,000 that the user has input. So we get 1. And then we multiply it by 0.01, because that is the lot size that we're going to get for every 10,000 balance. And then divide by step, multiply by step, and then round it. And then return the lots. So this is how we are going to calculate the lots from value, whether equity or balance. Then the next function we're going to write is from deposit load, that the user can specify here himself of what that load is. So we write that formula. Once again, we're going to check margin required is not less than 0.0001. So it is a definite value. This is a definite value, and this is a definite value that the user has provided. Otherwise, we cannot calculate, and we return 0. Otherwise, what we do is we take the free margin divided by margin, which is going to give us the maximum number of lots one can open. Because if the margin required is 500 and you have 1000 as free margin, you can open 2 lots. But the margin required depends on leverage. This is why we're going to normalize for leverage, and because you're multiplying these two together, so these will cancel each other out. So in case of 500 leverage, your margin required is going to be smaller, but so will your normalizer. That will also be smaller. So the multiplication of that. So for example, let me give you a very quick example. So let's say you have 100 leverage and you have 500 leverage. Now, free margin divided by margin required. In case of 100 leverage, you're going to require more margin. So let's suppose the maximum trades that you can open is 2. And in case of 500 leverage, the max number of trades that you can open is 10 because you have more leverage. So your margin requirement is smaller. Then this 100 divided by leverage is going to be equals to 1. But this 100 divided by leverage in case of a 500 leverage is going to be 0.2. So your actual is going to turn out to be this normalizer multiplied by the maximum lots that you can open. So 2 multiplied by 1 will equal 2. And in this case, 10 multiplied by 0.2 is also going to equal 2 because we are calculating for deposit load. So we need to cancel out the effect of the margin and the leverage. So leverage is going to impact the margin, and 5 times the margin is basically means that you can open 5 times the number of trades. If with 1 to 100, you could open 2 trades, but then if you have a 5 times leverage 500, then you can open 5 times the trade. But that is then normalized by 100 divided by the leverage, because 100 divided by 100 is going to be 1, but 100 divided by 500 is going to be 0.2, which is 5 times less. So 5 times higher because of the margin required, but 5 times smaller because of the leverage normalizer will give you exactly the same result. So this is where we are neutralizing the leverage, and then it is just down to lot size deposit load divided by 100. So if the user has set 2.5, so 2.5 divided by 100 to get a 2.5%. And then we divide by step, multiply by step to round it up, to do a proper rounding. And then we match flow rate. So we always round it down because we don't want to over leverage. So this is the calculation of the lots from deposit load. And then we're going to create a calculation from risk. So calculation from risk. Once again, we're going to check if this is a valid value. Otherwise, once again, this is the leverage normalizer. This is the maximum number of trades you can open based on the margin required. But this time, instead of the lot size deposit that the user can specify, we are sending preset risk settings and then doing exactly the same, divided by 100 to convert it into a percentage, and then divide by step, multiply by step, and match flow. So these two formulas are practically the same. The only thing is here we're sending the values, and here we're not sending a value. So it comes from lot size deposit load that the user can specify. So these are the functions that we are using here. And then we're going to do a quick check that our maximum multiplier on any of the symbol run all the way to the maximum number of trades that you can have in a grid is not going to exceed the broker's maximum number of lots allowed. For now, type this, but then once we have written all the functions, then I'll come back and explain what is happening here. So that the lot size throughout the entire grid altogether cannot exceed the maximum number of lots that you can have. So this max grid multiplier, let's go down in our helper functions and we write it here, the total function, which is basically we're going to loop through the symbol arrays, all 3 of them or all 4 of them, however many currencies. And then we are trying to get the maximum multiplier between those 3 symbols. So if symbol 1 has a multiplier of X, but symbol 2 has a multiplier which is larger than X, then we want to get the maximum multiplier. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop through the symbol arrays, all currencies, and then we're going to check. We start with a 0 value, and then if the max grid lot multiplier on that symbol is bigger than whatever is currently stored in max multiplier, then we increase it, or we change the max multiplier to the higher multiplier, and we loop through all of the currencies. So in the end, the max multiplier is going to be the max grid lot multiplier of whichever currency has the biggest value, and then we return that max. multiplier. So that's how we're going to get the max grid multiplier. And then we're going to calculate, this is just to get it, but then we're also going to calculate the grid lot multiplier. So we're going to start with a starting lot of 0.1, where the total lots is also 0.1. And then we're going to go through from level 1 to level maximum number of trades that the user has allowed in a grid, -1, because it always starts at 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the grid lot size for that level, starting at the starting lot, going all the way up to the level that we're going to that we are checking here, and then add it to the total lots of 0.1, because that is our starting lot. And then if we divide the total lots that we're going to get here by the starting lot, that's going to give us the multiplier. So for example, if the starting lot is 0.1 and looping through all of the levels and adding it to the total lots, we're starting at 0.1, but then we're adding after calculating for the next level what the lot size should be. So in the end, the total lots is going to be the total sum of the lots for all the levels, hypothetically, if all of them were placed. So if we get that total and if we divide it by the start lot, then we're going to get the multiplier. So this is how we're going to calculate the multiplier for the currency pair that we're sending to this function. So this is how we will calculate and store the value of the max lot multiplier. And this function we're going to use to get the value that we have stored in these through this function. Now, in order to calculate the max grid lot multiplier, we are using this function where we're going to be sending the value of the start lot and what level that we are getting it for to get the lot size back. So we need to create that function as well. But for now, I will just stub it at the end that calculate the grid lot. And by the way, these three functions, we can take them from here. I'm going to cut it. And we put probably the best place for them is going to be in the section of lot size functions, because these are related to lot sizes, even the multiplier. So I'm going to paste it here. So for now, I'm just going to stub it as 0.1. But what this function is supposed to do later on is that we're going to send to it a level, and we're going to get back for that level what the lot size should be. And this is what we're going to use here in the calculate max grid lot, is starting at 0.1, but then looping through the levels from level 1 all the way to the maximum trades -1, and then getting the lot size of what that level lot size should be, adding it back to the total lots, which is the same value as lots starting, so that we get the total lots for the entire grid to the maximum. And then we divide one by the other to get the multiplier. And then we're going to store the multiplier into that symbol currency's max grid lot multiplier for every currency. And then we will be able to get the max grid multiplier across the EA for all the currencies by looping through all of the currencies, comparing their max grid lot multiplier, and then getting whatever is the highest of those multipliers. So for now, let's go back to our calculate lot size function, which we are writing. But before that, now that we have written this function, even though it is stuck for now, but this is first time going to be called in the parse and initialize symbols. So after this line, we're gonna also assign the max lot grid multiplier to the functions while we are parsing and initializing them by using the calculate max grid lot multiplier that we have created. We haven't written the codes within it, but at least now we have created that function. And that function's job is to calculate for the symbol what is the max grid lots multiplier is, and then store that value into the symbol array. And this we should also do here. So after initializing the symbol data, we're going to do the same as well. So if it is not a tester, then it's live environment, so we're doing this. But if it is the tester, then it's just one symbol, so we're going to send that symbol. Now back again to calculate lot size. After doing this check, we're going to do another check, which is the grid level to start. Remember, we had an option for the user to say grid level to start is 1 or what. I mean, 1 is the default value, but the user might also say it's like, okay, well, normally with the RSI value, the grid should open here, and then the first level should be here, and the second level should be here, and the third level should be here. But I don't want to trade the level 0, level 1, and level 2. I want to start from level 3 because I'm in any case expecting the price to go against me. So I would rather start opening the trades later. But in order to calculate all of the lot sizing properly, we will still have to stub a 0.01, the minimum lot size at the base, at the level 1, at level 2, before this level that the user has defined has hit. And this is why here in our calculation of the lot sizes, if the grid level to start is greater than 1, meaning the user has specified that we should actually start lot sizing like from level 3 or level 4, then level 0, 1 and 2, we need to set the lot size to minimum lot, to just place a trade so that we have a grid, but not with the actual lots, but just a placeholder with the minimum amount possible. And then we normalize the lot size by creating a function normalize lot size, sending to it the symbol and the lot size because it can be different digits or different requirements for the steps. And then we just return the lot size. So this is our calculate lot size function. And now we need to write this normalize the lot size function. So let's maybe come down here before the get multiplier. This is where we're going to create this function, which is again, we're going to get the step and the minimum volume. And the lot size is going to be lot size divided by step multiplied by step. So that's just the rounding and math round. And then if the lot size turns out to be less than the minimum lot acceptable by the broker, then in that case, lot size becomes minimum lot. And then we get the digits and then we normalize the lot size to the number of digits. So this is how we will normalize the lot size. Let's compile. We seem to be okay. And now we can run and check whether or not our lot sizing is working. And now you can see that our lot sizes are now being calculated based on the values that we have selected in our input. But by the way, let's go back again and we're gonna remove the commented out tester height indicators so that we don't end up seeing the indicators. So if I run now, we see that the lot sizes are working. For the initial grid, we still haven't written the grid. So it's 0.03 coming out here. But if I go back to the input and I, let's suppose, change it to high risk setting, then we get a different lot size. And then if I go fixed lots, then in that case we're getting fixed lots. If I go based on balance, but let's change this to, I don't know, 1,000, is 0.1 lot per 1,000 and our balance is 10,000. So we should be getting a 0.1. If it was based on every, I don't know, 500, then we should be getting 0.2 and we're getting 0.2. At this point, we have written opening of the first trade based on RSI, and we have written the calculation of the lot sizes for the first trade. And now in the next section, we will start to write grid related functions where we're going to open up the grids based on the distances that the user has specified, and then also do the calculation of the lot sizes for the next layers in the grid. So now we're going to continue with our grid management. So we're going to open up the grids and manage all the levels for the lot size and everything. So remember, we wrote a special magic number for every trade. So now we need a helper function for us to be able to decode it as well. So we're going to go up, and just below the structure, we're going to create a class, and there are going to be 4 elements in the class, which is mbase, uid, magic base, and digits. When we will be calling its functions, magic helpers, we're going to be sending it the base value and the uid value, and we're going to assign the base value to m_base, the one that we have created here, uid to uid. M magic base is going to be equal to base plus the uid, because uid is the instance. So if we have 84570, then 84570 plus 1, and then m digits is the number of digits in this magic base. So we're going to convert it to a string, and then we're going to get the length of that string and store it here. And then we're going to write a few helper functions within this class, which we can call upon. So the first one is get base. So whenever we will call get base, we are basically asking for the magic number, so base plus uid. So just return the magic base. And then the second function we're going to create is get direction magic, meaning get base only or get the direction plus the base. And we're going to send it the direction, so whether it's a buy or it's a sell. And in that case, return the 10 raised to the power 7 because m digit is equal to 5. Our base is 84570, so it's 5 digits plus 2 times the direction. So whatever we're going to send, either we're going to send 1 or 2, and then plus to it the magic base times 100, meaning this number. So for buy, it's going to become 1 10 raised to the power 5 times the direction, so times 1, and plus the 84570 times 100. So it's going to be 1845700. So we're getting a magic number with direction like this without the levels. So the levels are going to be 0. Then get level magic, meaning this time around we're asking for the level as well. So we're going to send direction and the level. So now our calculation is going to be this plus this, but then plus the level as well. Let's say the level is 2, then what we are going to get in the end is this number. So now we have the direction, the base magic number, including the UID, and the level digits. Exactly the same way, but here we're including the level as well. Then another function we're going to create that we can call upon is our order, and we're going to send the magic number. I mean, when we get from the position the magic number, we can send it here to check if it is our order. And then we start with, if the magic number is less than or equal to 0, then just return false, that it's not ours. It might be a manual trade. And then the prefix is going to be magic number divided by 100. Because, for example, if this is the magic number that comes back, if this was the magic number, then we're basically saying this divided by 100, and it will return 1845570. So it will be without the level, the prefix. So dividing it by 100, as we are creating it as an int, so it's going to be rounded down. So you're going to get 1845570, and that's going to be our buy prefix. And then buy prefix is magic days plus the 10 raised to the power 5, the number of digits. So the buy prefix becomes the magic number base, so 84570 plus 10000, 10 raised to the power 5. So it's going to become 184570. And that will always be our prefix for buy. No matter what magic number we're going to create, because of the way we create the magic numbers, here for example, the prefix is always going to be for the buy 184570, because the last 2 digits are level. So this is our buy prefix. And in case of sell, we multiply the 10 raised to the power 5 by 2. So then it becomes 84570 plus 10 raised to the power 5. But this one is times 2. So this is going to become 284570. So this is always going to be our prefix for a sell trade. Our sell trade will always have this number, and our buy trade is going to have this number, depending on the UID, the instance. But the UID is going to become constant, so it's either going to be 870 or 871, 872, up to 9. But this is how we are going to create the magic number. So now we can read the magic number exactly the same way as well. So when we send the magic number, we divide it by 100 to get the prefix, and then we can check it against the prefix. So if the prefix is equal to this prefix, or the prefix that we are getting from the magic number is equal to this prefix, then it is our order. So in that case, either or. In that case, this is our order, so we're going to return a true. So this is how we're going to check the magic numbers. Now, if we get the magic number from a position and we want to check the direction from the magic number, we're going to send to it the magic number. Then we're going to check if it is our magic number by running this function. And if it is not, then we return 0. But if it is, then prefix is equals to magic divided by 100, that we have done here as well. So you basically remove the last 2 digits, and then it is the prefix. Then if it is the buy prefix or the sell prefix, so we create the buy and sell prefix again, exactly the same way as we have done here. If the prefix equals buy prefix, then return 1, meaning it's a buy, because we're trying to get the direction from the magic. And if the prefix equals sell prefix, meaning this prefix, then return 2. So we can send the magic number, remove the 2 digits, and then it's going to be either this or this. So we can check versus the buy prefix and sell prefix, whether it's this number or this number. If it is this number, then we know that it's a buy, so we return 1. If it's this number, then we know that it is a sell, so we return 2. So this way, by using this function and sending to it the magic number, we can check whether or not it's our magic first. And then if it is our magic number, then we can check what is the direction, whether it's a buy or it's a sell. And then the last thing we're going to create here is to get the level from the magic number, which is very simple. We're going to send to it the magic number. We're going to first check whether or not this magic number which is coming is our order by using this function. And then if it is, then it's basically magic %2, which is get the last 2 digits of the magic number. So whatever is the magic number, the %2 basically means in MQL that get the last 2 digits. So get these 2. So this is how we're going to get the level numbers as well. So these are all the functions that we have created in this helper class, magic helper, which we can use. And then we close the class. And because it's a class, so you don't just close it with the curly bracket, you also put a semicolon, just like a coding statement. So this is our class. Let me compile, and everything is fine. Now that we have created this class, we need to initialize it in a way. And we can do it here, just after we have written all of these global variables. We're gonna initiate this here by sending to it the magic number base and UID. And why we are writing it here is because this is after the magic number base and the UID value. So once we have established these 2 values, this is where we initialize it so that these values can be sent back to this magic helper, because that's what we said. We're going to send it to base and we're going to send it the UID. So here we can send it because we have already established them here and here. I'll compile it again just to make sure, and it's fine. And now we can go back down to our grids part, because now we're going to start creating all the functions which are going to be related to opening of the grids and management of the grids. So the first one, grid exists. What we're going to send to it is the symbol, the level, and the direction. And we're basically asking if the grid exists at this level for this direction. Now if we send -1, it's going to be, we're asking for a sell. If we are sending it a +1, then we're asking for a buy. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop through all of the positions, looping through all positions total. And then we say if position by select fails, then print this, that order select failed. Otherwise, you have selected the first position. We're going from 0 all the way to the total number of positions -1, because we're saying less than positions total. Then we're sending it the symbol ourselves, so we can check if the position info symbol, so the position which is selected, if the symbol of that position is not equal to our symbol, then it's not a position that we are interested in. So continue. So go to the next position. Don't do anything below. Just go to the next iteration. Then we're going to get the magic number. So we create a magic number and we say position info magic number. So we get that and store it into this variable. And then using our helper class, we can check whether or not it's our magic number. So this helper class that we have created is our order. That's what we're going to use here, is our order, and send it the magic number. So if the return value is false, so it is not our magic number, then it's not a position opened by this instance of the year. So we're not interested in this. So continue, meaning go to the next position. But if it is our magic number, then get the direction from magic. Remember, we just created the helper class to get the direction from the magic number. So get the direction, whether it's a buy or it's a sell, and we store it into order direction. And then we say that the direction that we are sending here, if that is 1, and the direction that we got from the magic number is not 1, then it's also a trade we're not interested in. Go to the next position. Then if the direction is -1, what we are sending here, because we're going to send 1 for buy and -1 for sell. If we're sending the direction as sell, -1, and what has returned from get the direction of the magic is not 2, because for the sell, the value that returns here is 2. Look back at the magic function that we created. So when we get the direction, if it is a sell prefix, then return 2. So when we're asking here, we're going to send -1 if it's a sell. We're checking for a sell grid, +1 if we are checking for a buy grid, and 0 if we are checking for any grid, sell or buy. So if it is not equal to, then continue as well. Continue meaning go to the next position. And then we're going to check for the order level. Once again, by using our helper function, we're going to send to it the magic, and we're going to ask for the level. That's also something we created in the helper function here to get the level from the magic. So we're going to send the magic number and ask for the level. And then we say if the level is greater than 0, meaning it is a valid value, but the order level isn't the level that we are sending to be checked, then leave this position and go next as well. And if all of that matches, then in that case return true, that there is a grid that exists with that level, with that direction. And if you loop through all of the positions and you haven't returned true, which means you couldn't find a position for that level and direction, in that case return false. So now with this function, for any symbol, we can send a specific level number, or we can send -1, which basically means we're not interested in the levels. We're just interested in if the grid exists up to whatever level. And we can send the direction by saying -1 if we are only looking for sell if it exists, +1 if we are only looking for a buy grid if it exists, or 0 if we are looking for any grid exists, whether it's a buy or sell. And then we can run through this loop, and it's going to return true if our conditions are met. So this is our grid exist function. Let's compile to see everything is fine, and yes, we're okay. And now we're going to go back to our onTick function, and here after the symbol updates, we're going to check that if trading is allowed, which is the first function that we created in the helper function. If trading is allowed, then in that case, run this function, check and open grid orders for the index that we are currently on. So this is where we're going to start writing the codes for opening of the grid orders. So let's go back to our grid related functions, and we're going to create a function by the name check and open grid orders, and we're only going to send to it the symbol index. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert the symbol index into the proper symbol name by getting the symbol name for that index from that structure variables that we have created and we have looked at many times. And then we're going to do a quick validation that if the maximum number of trades is less than 1, which basically means that is the maximum number of trade on a symbol allowed is just 1 or less, so you cannot open a grid, or the trade multiplier third is less than or equal to 0, which means that the user has not provided a valid value for the trade multiplier, or the trade distance is 0, which is less than the epsilon, which means the trade distance is not there. So in that case, return as well. Just exit the function because the values are not correct. And then we're going to get the spread, the point, and the digits from the broker for our symbol. And then we're going to do a check grid direction. So we're going to write this function, and we're going to send to it symbol index, the order type buy, because we're going to check for a buy grid, and then open a buy grid if we need to open up another level. We're going to send to it the spreads, which we're getting here. We're going to send to it the point that we're getting here, and we're going to send to it the digits that we're getting here. And we're going to do the same for the sell as well, because we don't want to complicate everything within this function. So now we're going to go for a check grid direction for buy and for sell separately in two separate functions. So we'll start with check grid direction. We're only going to write one function, and we can run it twice for buy and for sell. So we're sending to it in symbol index, order type, spread, point, and digits. So as always, we're going to convert the symbol index to symbol main. Then we're going to set the direction, because we're sending this value here as order type. So if order type is order type buy, so the value sent to this function is order type buy, then the direction is 1, otherwise it's -1. So for sell it's -1, for buy it's 1. And now we can check if the grid exists. So if we have sent a buy order, then in that case this is going to be buy. So we get a grid exists check for current symbol, level 0 meaning we don't really care for the levels, and then sending it the direction 1, meaning check if a buy grid exists for level 0, that we don't care. I mean, there needs to be just one trade. And if nothing exists, there is no trade at all, a buy trade, then in that case, just simply return. And if we are sending the next time as sell, then order type is going to be sell, so it's going to be -1. So we're going to be sending -1 here. So we're checking if the grid exists for sell, even if there is one position for sell, and this is why saying 0. And if 0 positions are there, then in that case, not even the first position is there. So what are we going to build the grid on? So we don't need to do anything, just return, meaning exit this function. But if the grid does exist, whether it's just the initial position, or there is a grid with 1 or 2 levels or 3 levels or whatever number of levels, so we come down here, and then we get the total lots by getting the total lots in the grid, by sending it the symbol, level 0, direction, and this false. And when we will create the function, we will see what this false is. And then the current price is equal to, from the symbol array, we get the close price. Remember, we set the close price, I think in the update symbol information, we set the close price here to the last candle's close. And that's what we are getting here as well. So get that value back for the symbol index. And then for the average price, we're going to create a function get weighted average price by sending it the symbol, level, and direction. So for now, I'm going to come down. So let's close this function. So we close down this function. And then below this, I'm going to create the get weighted average price. We're going to send to it symbol, level, and direction. And for now, I'm just saying return 0. And the get total lots in grid function that we have already stubbed before. So that's the function that we're going to get here. We're using here. We're going to write this function later. We're going to check for what levels are already there so that we can know that the next one that we are creating is going to be level last plus 1. So we're going to start at level 1 and we're going to loop through every time increasing the value of the level by 1 until the maximum trades minus 1. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check whether that level already exists. And we can check it in the grid exists by this time sending the symbol and the actual value of the level, because now we're going to check that this level exists. So level 1 exists, level 2 exists, and sending it the direction that we have. So if it's a buy order, we send the buy direction. So if grid exists, meaning this level already exists, or we actually check for this bar if the grid is already open. Because remember, we wrote in our open market order, we wrote that for the symbol index, after opening the trade, grid open becomes true. So if on this bar, if the grid has already been open on this bar, then we don't want to do it again. We don't want to open another grid on the same bar. So if this is true, or if this is true, that the grid already exists for this level, then in that case, continue, meaning check the next level then. So we're going to continue looping until, let's say, if there are already two levels open, then level 1, we're going to continue, go back to level 2, then continue, and then it's going to be level 3, and level 3 doesn't exist. So if level 3 doesn't exist, we're going to come down to this line, and we're going to start putting together the data which is required for opening the trade level 3. So first we're going to get the required distance, which is going to be the trade distance times the level. So for level 0, it was 0, but the level 1 is going to be 35 times 1. Then level 2 is going to be 35 times 2, then 35 times 3 for level 3. So how far it needs to be based on what the user has defined in the trade distance times the number of level which we are going to create. That's the required distance. And then we're going to actually change this required distance into the price distance by saying required distance times point, then get the multiplier. So whether it's 5 digits or 3 digits, then it's 10, otherwise it's 1. And multiply it by the smart distance multipliers, so that if the volatility is 1.2, we take the 35 and we actually multiply it by 1.2 as well to create the additional distance. Remember, we stubbed it between 1 and 1.5. And then the price difference variable is going to be current price minus the average price. And the average price we're going to get from this function, and the current price we're going to get from the close of the last bar on this symbol. So now we know what is the price difference between the average price of our grid, which we're going to get from here, and what the current price is in the market. So then we can create a bool that has the price reached the level that we want to. And then if it's the order type buy, then the price reached is going to be if the price difference is less than minus price distance. And if it is a sell, then it's greater than the price distance, because sell trades, the levels are going to be above, and for the buy, the levels are going to be below. And in this case, it needs to be smaller than the negative price distance. So negative 35, negative 42. If the price has dropped negative 42, then it has definitely passed minus 35. So this is why we're checking that it is smaller than the negative price distance. And in case of the sell, we're going to be putting the levels above. So it is from the whatever last level plus 35 is the price distance that needs to be there. And if the price has gone even above, so it is above the price distance. And then if it's not price reached, then in that case just continue because we haven't reached the level. So what's the point? So we just continue. And then we have this special function of grid level to start, where we were going to put 0.01, 0.01, 0.01 until whatever the user has specified that this is the level from which to start the actual gridding. So this is why we say initial stop loss is 0. We create a variable, and then if the grid level to start is greater than 1, then in that case initial lot is going to be get total lots for the symbol starting at grid level to start -1, because that's where the actual lot sizing starts, sending it the direction and then saying false. We are still to create this function, so we're going to come back to it as well. And then we say that the lot size is going to be equal to calculate the grid lot size, sending to its symbol, total lots, level, and the initial lot. And then from this function, if the lot size turns back to be 0, that basically we couldn't calculate the lot size, so continue, go to the next level, and then if everything has been successful so far, then in that case open the grid order of another function we will create by sending to it the symbol index, order type, level, and lot size. And in that case again the grid open is going to turn to true, and the OPR triggered is going to be equals to true as well, and then sleep for 5,000 seconds. So this is if everything checks out. We actually open the grid order by calling upon this function that we're going to create. So now we're going to start creating the functions that we need to create. So let's start with calculate grid lot size, which is going to be the lot size for the grids. We already have one for the calculate lot size, which is for the initial trade, and now we're going to write one for the grid. So let's write it, and what we're going to be sending to it, we're going to need to send to it the symbol, the current total lots which are already on the grid. So if it is at level 3, how many lots are there in the grid already? What is the level and what is the initial lot? Because remember here in the grid distance multiplier, so you had the multipliers. So depending on which level it is, we're going to have to multiply it by the lot multiplier. So we create this function and we're going to get the value of the step, minimum volume, maximum volume, and volume limit for the symbol from the broker. And then we're going to check if the step from the broker turns out to be 0.0001, then we change it to 0.001, which is the Bitcoin lowest step, just to streamline the stepping. And then we're going to create two variables. One is the result, and we're going to start it with the minimum lot, and the base lot is whatever lots we have sent here as the total lots. So this is going to be the base on which we're going to do our calculation. And then we're going to have to do that special function grid level to start if the user has put it as more than 1. Then if the initial lot that we are sending here is less than 0.099, then in that case we calculate the lot size by sending the symbol to calculate lot size as false based on if it is an initial order or not, and come down here. If the grid level to start was greater than 1 and initial order, then the lot size was minimum lot. But because here we're sending the next level in the grid, so it's not an initial order, so we're going to go false for the if it is initial order. Because it is not the initial order, so we're going to send to it the false. And then we're going to check if the current level for which we are, because we're going to be sending this from here, the level number, after checking here how many levels have been achieved or already are there in the grid. We're creating the next level. So the level value is going to come here. And then if that level is still below where to start the grid level properly, then in that case, we take the base lot, which is the current lot, times the multiplier. And the multiplier, we're going to get it from multiplier for the level function. Otherwise, if we are saying keep original profit lot size and it's not auto split, then if the level is grid level to start -1, meaning we have reached the level where we are going to start creating the lots, then the result is going to be initial lots. Otherwise, we get the multiplier for the level grid level to start -1. And then level multiplier is for that level. We get the multiplier for level from there. And then the result is going to become initial lot divided by the start multiplier times the level multiplier. Otherwise, the level start is level minus the grid start of -1. And then double multiplier is going to be equal to get the multiplier for level from start. And then the result is going to be initial lot times the multiplier. And then we close this else loop. Then we close this else loop. And then we close if the grid level to start. So if you have changed this from 1 to maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, this is what we are accounting for here. I suppose that this is a complex one, so maybe what I will do is I will make a separate video to explain the working of if you were wanting to start the grid level from more than 1, what exactly every step is doing. For now, if you don't understand it, just write it like this. And then we'll come back in another video, because this one is probably going to take half an hour to an hour just to explain this function. Because if you are not changing this value, if you are using the EA as a normal grid, which is start wherever start, but not like start from level 3, level 4, then this else is what you are more interested in. To get the multiplier for this specific level that we are going to create, and then the result becomes base lot, whatever is the lot size from the base, times that multiplier for that level. And then we close the function. So we're going to get the multiplier for the level, and then we're going to multiply it with the base lot, because that's what we are supposed to be doing here, which is you get whatever is the base lot, and then the second time the multiplier is going to be 1. Then from there, it's going to be multiplied by 2. So get the multiplier for that particular level, and then we're going to do the multiplication of the lot size. So let's write that function, get multiplier for level. So what we're going to send to it is the level. So we're just going to send to it the level, and then we're going to try and get what should be the multiplier for that level. So now if the level is less than or equal to 0, then just return 1, because then the multiplier is simply 1. You don't make any change to the actual lot size. But then we go double a multiplier equals 1. So we start with a value of 1, and then we're going to loop through from I until whatever number of level which has been sent. So we're going to loop through it. Then if I equals 1, so if it is level 1, then the multiplier is equal to trade multiplier 2 times the multiplier 1, which is this one. So second trade multiplier, whatever the user has chosen here, that is going to be the multiplier which we're going to multiply with 1, which is basically, multiplied by 1 means that number itself. If it's between 2 and 4, which is here from third to fifth trade, and why we are saying 2 to 4 is because the first trade that we open is level 0. The second trade that we open, it's level 1. So the third to fifth trade is actually level 2 to 3. In that case, we're going to use the trade multiplier third, which is this one. Otherwise, which means it is bigger than 5, which is this one. So 6 trade onward, we're going to use this multiplier. So we're sending this multiplier back. We close the for loop, and then we return the multiplier. So once again, level 0 is like the first time the trade opens, and that we calculate in the calculate lot size. But when it comes down to the level, we can get the multiplier for the level by sending the level. We're going to loop through all the levels, and if it is 1, then it's the multiplier. Second, this one, between the third and the fifth trade, once again the index starts at 0. So it's third to fifth trade is this one, and then sixth trade onward. So this is why else it is this one. So this is what we're doing here, get the multiplier for level. So now we can go back to calculate grid lot size, and we were here. We're going to round the result to the step size. So it's basically result divided by step, multiply by step. We're going to apply the limits. So if the result turns out to be less than the minimum lot allowed by the broker, then results becomes the minimum lot. So these are validation checks. And then if the result is greater than the max lot, and it's not auto split, we're not allowed to split the lots into 2, then in that case, result becomes the max lot. If the result is bigger than the limit lot, then result becomes limit lot. So these are all the validations that we are doing against these values that we got from the broker for the symbol. And then we basically do this where we're saying that if the step is very close to 0.01, meaning it's between this value and this value, it's very close to 0.01, then normalize to 3 decimal places. If it is close to 0.1, meaning it is between this number and this number, then normalize to 2 decimal places. If it is very close to 0.1, then normalize to 1 decimal place. And if the step is very close to 1, so it's between this number and this number, then normalize to 0. Because on certain brokers, you might get the value of the step not exactly as 0.01, but you get 0.0100000001. Sometimes there is a very small decimal because it is not returned to the specific digits. So this is why we are normalizing based on digits, that if the step is very close to 0.01, then normalize to 3, otherwise 2, otherwise 1, otherwise 0. So now from here, we go down to our get weighted average price function, and now we're going to write that function as well. So we're going to start with 2 variables, total lots and total price, because we're going to get weighted average price. So we're going to get the total price and then divide it by total lots to get the average price. Now when we are going to be calling this function, we will have the ability to ask for direction. So whether we want for the buy grid or for the sell grid. So we need to take that direction and then store the direction into a target direction. If the function is being called for buy orders, then the target direction is 1, buy, otherwise it is 2, sell. So this gives us the flexibility of using the same function for both buy and sell to get the weighted average price for the buy grid or for the sell grid. Now we're going to start looping through all of the positions. So we're going to loop through all of the positions total. Then we're going to try to select, and if we're not able to select the position, then we say, well, auto select failed. But if we are able to select the position, then we're basically going to loop through exactly the same as before. So we're going to get the position symbol info and check it versus the symbol that we are sending. If it is not matching, then that position is not what we are interested in. So continue, go to the next position. Then get the magic number from position info magic. So from this position, get the magic number and compare that magic number by using our order function to see whether or not this is our trade. And if it is not our trade, then continue to the next position because we are not interested in this position. Then get the direction and check the direction by sending the magic number of the position. And we check it versus our target direction. If it is not matching, if the user has called this function for buy, but the actual position that we are currently looping is sell, then we are going to drop that position and go to the next position to see. And then check the level. If it's not equal to our level, then in that case, continue as well. And this is why we're saying if level is greater than 0, so the user or whoever is calling the function is interested in getting the level, then in that case, get the level from the magic and check it versus the level. And if it is not matching, then continue, meaning go to the next position as well. And if all of this is fine, then in that case, for this position that we are currently in, get the volume, add it into the total lots variable, get the price times the lot, and add it to the total price. So we're getting the total price times the lot because it is weighted price, so that we can later divide it by the total lots. And then we say if we're not allowed to do splitting, then in that case break this function, only just take the first order, and then we can calculate the average if the total lots is greater than epsilon. So we're just doing a validation that it is a valid number. Then total price divided by the total lots is going to be our average. So then return that. So this is how we're going to calculate the weighted average price. And this is weighted average price. We are multiplying the lots into the open price every time when we are adding the total price for every position which matches our symbol, our magic, our direction, and our level. So if we have a valid total lots, then we return the value of the average price. Otherwise, we just return 0. So now we can go ahead and open the grid order. So I'm going to come down here, and here we're going to actually open the grid order. So we're going to create a function, open grid order. We're going to send to it the symbol index, what type of order we are sending, what is the level, and what is the lot size from here. So we calculated all of this, the lots, getting the total lots in the grid. So first we're going to take our symbol index and change it into a symbol name by getting the symbol name from our index versus the symbol array, member symbol name. Then like the first trade, we're going to check for spreads. And if the spreads are bigger than the maximum spread, then we say spreads are too high for the grid order, and then return false, that we couldn't open. And then like the first time we opened the base trade, here again, we're going to check the margins. Starting the margin, using the order calculate margin based on either ask or bid, depending on whether it's an order type buy or sell, and store it into the margin. Now, if that function fails, or the margin return is 0, or the margin return is bigger than what is available as free margin, then in that case, there is not enough money. We did that before as well. Then we're going to handle the auto splitting. If auto split is allowed and the lot size turns out to be bigger than the maximum lot allowed by the broker on this symbol, then in that case, we're going to write another function where we're going to split and open the order. Otherwise, we're just going to send the single order, send grid order, and we're going to send the level, lot size, and everything. So here we're going to open the order, and now we're going to send the order. But for this splitting, let's go down to our helper function section, and let's stub it for now. That we need to come back to it. For now, just return false. Okay, let's come back. So here we were, and now we're going to send the grid order. So let's create that function, and once again, we're going to take the symbol index, convert it into the symbol. Then we're going to calculate the magic number. But this time we're going to calculate the magic number for the grid. So we're going to create another function where we're going to calculate the grid magic number, because here we need to also put the level. In the first trade, the base trade, we didn't have to calculate for the level. We only had to just add a 00 in the end because that was the base trade. Before we continue, let's write that function because it's a very small function to write, which is we're going to send to it the level and the order type. We're going to start with magic base, which is going to be equal to magic number base 84570 plus UID. Let's suppose the UID is 0, so it equals 84570. Then we're going to get the digits, which are 5 in the magic base. Then we're going to get the direction. So if we are asking to create a buy order, then it's 1, otherwise 2. So it's 1 or 2. And then exactly like before, we're going to do this, which is we're going to take 10 raised to the power 7. So 7 zeros times the direction. So in case of buy, it's going to be 1 plus the magic base times 100. So 84570, but 00 plus the level that we are sending here. So if the level was 2, so it's going to become 2. So then the magic number we're going to get is 1845700, 2. So this is for the buy. And for the sell, it is going to be 1, these zeros times 2 plus 84570, 00, and then plus 2 if the level is 2. So it will become 84570, 02. So we're creating a magic number, simply sending the level number and the order type, and then using our magic number and UID if it is the order type. Buy, it's going to return this with the level number that we sent. Otherwise, if it's sell, then it's going to create this with the level number that we sent. So this is just creating the grid magic number. So we create that unique magic number for that order, for that level number. And then like before, we create the comment, which is equal to trade comment. And then if level is greater than 0, then the comment is, we're going to add to it a hash and the level number so that we can see it in the comment that it's open the trade #1, #2. And just like before, set the expert magic number to this magic number that we just calculated. Set the standard deviation in points, which is slippage, times get the multiplier. So for 5 and 3 decimal points, it's 10. For everything else, it's 1. And then try to open, if it is the buy order that we are sending, then in that case, trade.buy, send it the lots, symbol, current price, no stop loss, no TP, and the comment from here. If it's not order type buy, then in that case, it's order type sell. Once again, send the trade.sell. And then like before, if it is a success, then we say grid order opened, level this. And if the order type was order type buy, then the last buy grid time is set to current time, which is whenever was the last trade opened on this symbol. And if it was sell, then we update the last sell grid time to time current. And then we return true that this function was successful, which comes here. And then we return the bool open grid back here so that we can check if the open grid returns are true. In that case, grid opened is true and OPO triggered is true. But if it fails, then we print failed to open the grid, get the red code and the red code description, and return false. So that this returns a false here, which then returns a false back here. And now we can go back to the bottom where we wrote the split and open orders, and we're going to write it. So we're going to be sending it the symbol index, the order type, the level, and the total lot size. And then we're going to get the symbol exactly the same way. And then we're going to get the max lot by using the get max lot for this symbol function that we created earlier. And then we're going to look at the number of ceilings. So we're going to look at, okay, what is the total lot size that we're trying to open divided by the max lot. So what's allowed by the broker. So if our lot size turns out to be 230 lots, for example, which I hope never happens, but the broker allows 100. So the number of orders that we will have to send is 230 divided by 100, and take it, round it up by using math ceiling. So it's going to be 3 orders that we're going to have to send. For a starter, we're going to set the remaining lots equals to total lots that we're sending, so 230, and we set all success to true. And then we're going to start looping through the total number of orders that we need to send. So starting at 0, going 0, 1, and 2. And then we're going to take the lot size is the math min of max lots versus the remaining lots. So remaining lots is 230, the max lots allowed is 100. So the lot size will become 100, so because we're going math minimum. So select the lesser of the two. So it's going to be 100. Then we normalize it by using our normalized lot size function. And then we send this to our send grid order function, sending this lots, 100 lots. If it is not successful, then all success becomes false. Otherwise, if we are able to send this, then remove the order that we have, that lot size, from the remaining lots. So from 230 lots, we have already opened a trade of 100 lots. So now the remaining lots is 130. Now let's close the loop. So then it's going to come back again for the second order. And now we have 130 remaining lots, 100 maximum lots. So once again, it's meant minimum. So 100 lot is going to become the lot size. And then we're going to send another order for 100 lots. And then we're going to remove these 100 lots from the remaining lots. So the remaining lots will become 30. And then we're going to come back again for the third order. And now this is 100, but this is now 30. So the lot size becomes 30. And then we send a 30 lot size to send grid order. And then we come down here and then we remove 30 from 30, which will make it 0. So remaining lots become 0. But in any case, the total number of orders have already been run. And we are sleeping in between so that we don't bombard all three orders one after the other to the broker. So we take 500 seconds before we send the next order. And then if all goes tickety-boo, then we say return all success, that it was successful. So this is how we're going to do the split and open orders as well. I realize that here we are calling the function get max lots for the symbol, but we didn't write that function. So let's write that function. We're going to send to it the symbol, and then the max lot is equal to the max lot we get it from the broker, and then the limit volume. Now if the limit max is greater than 0 and the limit max is less than max, then max is equal to limit max. And then we send between the maximum lot that the user has specified and the max lot. So what we are doing here is we're getting the max value, and this is the max value per order. And this is the max value that the broker allows per symbol. So what's the limit that you can have on this symbol, and what is the maximum volume that you can send in one lot? So we're going to return back the max lot that is allowed per order and the maximum lot that the user has specified, because it might also be the user has put 100 and the broker has the limit of 200, in which case the user's restriction supersedes. And this is why we are creating a separate function. Otherwise we could have just simply gotten this. We send back the minimum between the max lot allowed by the broker and the max lot allowed by the user of the EA. But in between we're going to do this check, which is going to be funny, that the maximum value per symbol is less than maximum value per order. In that case, max lot becomes the limit, because if this is smaller than this, then the max lot needs to be this and not that, which is not going to happen, but just in case, if there is a stupid broker. So this is how we're going to get the max lot value, which we're going to use here, max lot for the symbol. And if I compile now, we created this stub function already, and now we have created this function again, is the one where we have already written, and this one is the one which we stubbed but never came back to write. So if I delete this one and combine, then we are looking for here, calculate grid lot size. We calculated everything, but after normalizing the results, we should have sent the result back. So we return the results. If we calculate grid lot size, so once we have calculated the grid lot size, we should return it. And now if I compile, everything seems fine. And now we go get the total lots in grid, which is still stubbed as 0. So let's start writing it. And we're going to start by creating two variables, total equals 0 and base lot equals 0. And then the direction which is going to be sent to this is either going to be a buy or a sell. So we're going to convert this. So if the direction is buy or it is any direction, then in that case it's buy, otherwise it's -1. So any direction. Otherwise, if the direction sent here is -1, which is sell, or 0, which is every grid, then in that case it's going to be sell, otherwise it's -1. And then if we are using the original profit lot sizing or the grid level start is greater than 1 and it's not auto split, then we need to find the base lot for the grid, which is back again to this function. To start, instead of at the level 1, we start at level 3 or 4. So we are only placing a marker for base level and the level 1 and the level 2 until the actual, if the value is 3, then we only start from level 3 onwards to create actual values. So in that case, we're going to find the base for the grid by sending the symbol and direction. And for now, I'm just going to stub it to 0. And then we're going to come back up here. And then we're going to loop through all of the positions which are currently open. Again, select it by index. If you're not able to select it by index, then go to the next position. Then check that the symbol matches. If they don't match, then go to the next position. Then get the magic number. Check if it is our magic number. If it is not our magic number, then go to the next position. Then check the direction based on the target direction that we have put here. If it doesn't match, then go to the next position. Then check for the level. If it doesn't match, then go to the next position. But if all of that matches, then in that case, get the lots from this position, because this position is our position and it is in the same direction that we want to check and at the same level that we want to check. And then once again, if we are using the original lot sizes or in the base lot is greater than 0, then use this function we're going to create, calculate lot from the base based on the order level that we're going to be sending and using the base lot, and then add these lots to the total variable that we have initiated here as 0. So loop through all of the position, continue adding this, and then if the auto split is not allowed and the level is greater than or equal to 0, then in that case break, meaning just take the first trade and then return the total. In this function, calculate the lot from base by sending the order level. Let's create that one as well. So we're going to send the base. If the base is less than 0, then return 0 because there is no base. Otherwise, take the base lot and multiply it by the multiplier for this level. And you remember we created the get multiplier for the level, which was again going through these. So for the second trade it's 1, for third to fifth trade is 2, and for sixth trade onwards is 1.5. So this is what we created here, and now we're basically getting that multiplier and multiplying it with the base lot and returning it based on what level we are creating. So now if I compile again, we don't have any errors. And now if I run the test, what we're going to see here is that our grid are now going to be opening at the distance that we've wanted. So this is our first trade, and then here is our first grid, and it is open at exactly the same value because for the second trade the multiplier is 1. So it follows the same logic, and then for the next one it's multiplied by 2 because that is the multiplier for the trade third to fifth, and then we have a buy trade in between. So I'm going to speed it up a little until we have more trades. So if I look through all of the sell trades, the first trade was 0.3, the second trade was 0.3 because the second trade multiplier is 1. Then from third to fifth it should be multiplied by 2. So here it's multiplied by 2, then multiplied by 2, and then multiplied by 2. And then from the sixth trade onward it should be multiplied by 1.5. So we're seeing that from here it is multiplied by 1.5, multiplied by 1.5, multiplied by 1.5, and multiplied by 1.5. So we now have our grid functions done with the proper lot sizing, with the comments with grid levels, and the grid levels actually happening at the distance that we want, the 35 or the smart distance if the smart distance is enabled. So with that done, now we can start looking at adding the TPs and stop losses. So we go back up to the onTick function, and after the check and open the grids, we're going to add to it modify grid TP and stop loss function, which we're going to come down here in the segment that we have created for stop loss and TP, and this is where we're going to start writing the modify grid TP and SL. But by the way, I see I left this function empty, so let's write that one as well, which is find the base for the grid, which is again we're going to take the direction and we're going to convert the direction. So if the direction is 1, then it's buy, otherwise it's sell. And then we're going to loop through all of the position exactly the same way. So select, and if you're not able to select the position, then continue, go to the next position, check the symbols, get the magic number, check if it's our magic number, check that the direction match, get the level from the magic number, and then if the level is equal to grid level to start -1, which is coming back here if the user has selected grid level to start as 5, so the first 4 trades are going to be dummy trades, 0.1, 0.01, 0.01, 0.01, and 0.01. So then we're gonna start at the level which is grid level to start -1, because it always starts as 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 5. So start at 0.1, and if the level matches, then in that case get the lots of that position, get the multiplier for that level, and then if the multiplier is greater than 0, return the lot divided by the multiplier, otherwise just return 0. And then close the loop and return 0. If we couldn't find any position, then we just simply return a 0. Let's compile again to see everything is fine. So now we have filled out this stub function as well. And now we can start writing our modified grid TP and SL.